It is World Championship Finals week in Wollongong, Australia. 4 days of racing, ready to roll, and ultimately, World Champs to be crowned down under. Tune into triathlonlive.tv for all the action, grab yourself a race pass, and automatically go into the draw for a very special Paris 2024 t-shirt signed by all our individual Olympic medalists, some Wollongong swag, and an annual TriLive pass. And I'm joined by the always excellent Chelsea Burns, a USA multiple World Cup medalist who's raced 4 grand finals and now hosts the Chasing the Burn podcast, a friend of the show, Tommy Zaferes, on the mic before getting back behind the lens. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy this Wollongong Championship Finals preview. Okay, so for the Wollongong preview podcast, I've got 2 very special guests responsible for one of my favourite post-race interviews of all time, in fact, from Leeds 2019, maybe?
Yeah,
it was Tommy interviewing Chelsea Burns of the Chasing the Burn podcast. Not then, she was an athlete. And you were, just giving some love and respect to the Leeds Massive, I think, back then, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, I remember, I think the eye rolling helped you create a little graphic out of it, so that's why it was memorable. But many lifetimes ago now, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, thanks for coming on. Just let us know why you're in Wollongong. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I was joking with everyone. I'm seeing these people from many years ago. We're all woken up on the other side of the world. But I flew down here to produce some interviews and showcase the athletes that are here. It's an exciting World Champs to be in Australia. And World Triathlon has helped me out a lot. So hopefully I'm able to have some conversations in the next few days ahead of this race. And just showcase this excellent event.
Yeah, 4 or 5 days of good racing coming up. Tommy, you've bookended 2025 season. Started in Abu Dhabi.
Only big trips for me this year.
Only the big ones.
Yeah, only the longest trips, the longest travel. So the beginning of the season, Abu Dhabi, and then end of the season with Wollongong. So solid 30 hours of travel to get here. And we're here. I think everyone's feeling the same after travel. We're all zombied out and looking around, but you can't complain when the ocean is there. It's beautiful, clear water. All the athletes are super hyped. So it's a good environment, and everyone's stoked to be here.
Yeah, we are. Well, it's Wednesday, so opening ceremony this afternoon. Under 23s, juniors. We got the T100, we got the paras, we got the age groupers, and then the big one Sunday, the 19th, men's and women's. But yeah. Chelsea, just about Wollongong, I suppose. You've not been here that long, but it's quite easy. It's quite a small, villagey atmosphere, isn't it? Easy to get a sense of the place and the impact that this event is having on it.
Yeah, I was saying that to you this morning, just walking around the town. It's, it's a sizable city. I think I read it's the 3rd largest city in New South Wales, which surprised me. But this place is triathlon land. Everywhere you turn is age groupers walking around in their team kits. The barricades have been out already. It's last night on Tuesday. I just noticed the course is ready to go, and I think you can just feel the energy here for Australia. I think it's a special country in a triathlon context. We last had a World Champs back in Gold Coast. We were probably all there, and it's just a cool place to be. The ocean is beautiful, and I think that you can tell this is going to be a really fun event. And I think for Australia, they're very proud. It feels like they're at least very proud to be putting this on, and they've got a man on the stage to hopefully win a world title. And just everything about being in Wollongong feels pretty worth flying for 30 hours to be here, right, Tommy?
Yeah, it feels like a natural home for a triathlon World Champ Finals, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can't complain, especially when you're coming in off the bus. You're coming down the hill and you see the lighthouses and you see the pools the saltwater pools that are on the ocean. You just see everybody, exercising from right before the sun comes up. It's 5:30 in the morning, and everyone's out either walking their dogs, going for a jog, riding their bikes. And as Chelsea said, there's barricades up already. They have almost not the whole town, but the area where the race is happening is completely blocked off. So you can actually run and ride on the course and check everything out. And there's just signs up that say, hey, there's a big triathlon event happening. That's what we're doing this week. So welcome to Wollongong.
I suppose, have you had a little chance to test out, have a little run around the course yet, have a little shakeout?
Tommy was saying he ran the bike course. When she ran it backwards today. So I haven't done exactly that, but I've run up and down the beach a few times now, and seen, it seems like it's a cool course. I mean, cool's a sad word to use to describe it, I guess. But there's some features that goes in and out of that lighthouse area. There's some hill. There's obviously a beach start. An ocean swim is not something we get all that often these days. So I need to see more, but I think it will, make for a spectacular looking event and hopefully make a good race too, because as we know, that's important to yeah.
And I want to add some context. As Chelsea said, I ran the course backwards, which is like, for most people, it's like, why did you do that? Because as a photographer, I'm always looking for angles of the athletes coming towards me and getting their faces. And so I want to look at the course the opposite direction of the course that's actually going, so that when I find photo spots, then I know I can like mark in my mind, like, all right, this is a good spot to stop. Like during the race, I'm definitely going to come here to get a shot. So I'll usually run the course multiple times backwards to try to find like the best places in advance to go from a photography standpoint. So
I think you should have just owned that you ran it backwards, forwards, but backwards.
Yeah. Also, I ran forwards, but reverse the route. I did not run it backwards, which would have been interesting.
Yeah. Age group is lining the route, just cheering you on. So yeah, we're in the hotel here, 11 floors up, looking out, like not quite at the course, but not far off. Multiple sightings of whales, dolphins, snakes. Like it seems like every athlete has been posting flipping wildlife and encounters going on. Haven't seen any snakes yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they really in Wollongong? I haven't. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, where we were running this morning, there was snake signs everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know. No kangaroos or anything around here,
No
though,
roos,
eh? I haven't seen any of that. But...
and shark watch, apparently, is a thing. So if there are sharks nearby, because obviously Aussie Coast Guard, that's the kind of thing they have to keep their eye on.
So we're in a zoo, essentially, what you're saying.
And you're going to be interviewing a load of athletes here as well, and they're going to be coming out on Chasing the Burn over the coming weeks.
That's the goal. Hopefully they reply to me and we can get that locked down. It's hard during race week, but yeah, I do a lot of these interviews remotely, and I think that I found that doing them in person, just you open them up a lot more and you can ask some questions and just feel their energy when you're sitting next to them. So hopefully I'll get some recordings done and post those over the coming weeks. Like you said, maybe some previews this week to really highlight them and bring attention to what they're doing here in Wollongong. So
cool. All right, so we're going to focus on the elites here just because of time. And yeah, Matt Hauser going in as the number one home race. It all looks kind of set for him to do what he needs to do, obviously. But let's start with the women. Cassandre and Beth going in on level points. I guess looking at the ways in which this course might suit one or the other, and the other, like Jeanne Lahair and Lisa Turch and Leonie Perriot, might be able to stop them. Cass has been very impressive, given that she's only finished 3 races and still level on points at the top.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun the way that this, or at least the points is set up this year, where I think you only need 3 to count plus the final, which obviously puts a lot more weight on that grand final. And I think that to have, a grand final that doesn't necessarily matter so much into an overall world champion designation is maybe like a little more confusing to an outsider. So to see that someone who, nails it in a grand final ultimately will probably become the world champion, definitely in this case for the women. I like to see that, and this neck and neck points battle they're in. We've had that, I think, a few times in the past. It's been a few years where it really just comes down to this: first one across the line is world champion. So yeah, for her to be in that position with only finishing 3 races in an post-Olympic year, they obviously structure their years a bit differently. So for her to be able to be fighting for that world championship after only doing what she has done, it's good to see.
And it makes the minor placings even more important, too, with the other athletes that finishing, let's just say, top 5 or top 7, if they're top athletes that kind of get ousted by an athlete that maybe is not part of it, and then that could change the dynamics of the podium in the rest of the series. So it's kind of fun to watch the other athletes that aren't usually in the top five, kind of like how that plays out, or athletes who maybe were injured throughout the year and they don't have enough points, but they're still like podium contenders. Just come in and see how that changes things, and it just brings a lot more excitement to the entirety of the race rather than just like focusing on the top couple of athletes. So I'm super excited to see how all that plays out.
It's obviously probably going to be one of those two, but as we've seen in the past years, especially with the men, you can have someone who's, sixth going in the rankings, have a good day and
have their best day,
and ultimately become world champion, disrupting some favorites. But I guess to look further down the line here and people that could dethrone one of those two, we've got, I guess, Jean, Lisa, and Leonie, who your graphic you've beautifully constructed here gives us a pretty good sense of what it would look like for one of them to ultimately be world champion on Sunday. I don't know if we need to go into the details of that all, but
let's kind of break the race down a little bit as well before we get to the end of it. But Beth's going in as the number one by virtue of the world ranking, given that they've got the same ranking points for this season. So as we've seen in races this season, the swim could be massively important, perhaps comparatively more important for a race like this when you have an Olivia Matthias in there. That I suppose, we all know Lisa Turch has dialed in the swim, but given that Beth is going onto the pontoon as number one, is Cass just going to go wherever Beth isn't and sort of, take, because, Beth would probably want to get on those feet as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, that's going to be super interesting, the dynamic, because as we've seen this whole season, the races have played out completely differently each time, and we've had races that have had breakaways, we've had races that are all together. It's just going to be, the swim is going to be such a hugely important part, and that first lap on the bike. And we didn't really touch on the bike course, but it does have two hills, and one of the hills is 500 meters at 4.5%, which is significant. There's 7 laps on the bike, so if there can be a little bit of separation from the beginning, we can see somebody like Taylor Spivey who kind of takes the lead on that and takes a little group Olivia Matthias, and I know Jessica Fulligar's racing and she's been racing really well. There's needs to be a few athletes that really commit, and then we saw in Alghero that group of 6 or 7 ladies got 2.5-3 minutes almost on the rest of the field, and something like that could happen where there's a couple top contenders who are on the wrong side of that split, and that could change the dynamics of the race. But same thing, we've seen races that have come together and just comes down to the run, and you have 4 or 5 athletes that are running until the last kilometer, and you're just on the edge of your seat. So who knows what's going to happen here? That's super exciting.
I think too, we don't see many of these events that are a sea swim in the way that this is the beach start. It's an Aussie exit rather than having a pontoon to dive off of. But I don't know too much about how these top women fare in that type of swim. I just don't think we have enough to see. But I remember at least Cassandre, I don't know if that was last year or the year before, having a totally insane swim after going the wrong way and then reconnecting and ultimately getting it done on that big day. So I think the swim too here will be, I think, significant. There's definitely some women that do well in a surf swim. I think it's in a little bit of a cove, so we're not going to have 20-foot waves here. But
exactly. I don't think her seasickness that she sort of came out with after Torremolinos last year, wasn't it? And so she started far right and just kept going right.
Yep.
Anyone to...
Something that also we haven't really talked about is most likely it's going to be a wetsuit swim, based on the past temperatures and what the water temperature has been recently. And to me, having the transition where you have a wetsuit creates more gaps. It makes transition even more important than normal, because typically it's just throw your helmet on and then you're getting on your bike. But taking off the wetsuit and doing that efficiently creates a lot more gaps. And calmly. And so people who are really good at transition, and especially wetsuit transitions, are going to benefit big time from this. And it just takes your ankle getting stuck for, a couple seconds to be off the back of that group. And the wetsuits are going to play a role. Also, I don't know if you saw transition, but it's on a hill. I didn't know that before, but it is an uphill. So when they're mounting their bikes, they're going to be on 2% grade. So that adds another dynamic of challenge to the racing.
Yeah. Have we seen that since Leeds?
I don't know. Yeah, not really.
Have, in your experience, Chelsea, like of championship finals like this, team tactics played any role? Obviously, Cassandre has, Leone also fighting for the title, albeit slightly outside shot. Emma Lombardi, who's obviously in great form, but has had not much luck. And then, like a Jess Fulliger and Olivia Matthias, because Olivia's going to stretch out that swim most likely, which isn't necessarily something that Beth would want unless she's able to get in a very good... Well... Yeah. Olivia is likely to is likely to stand next to Beth on that start pontoon, presumably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. We've seen it in the past. I think the last time there was the grand final on Gold Coast, Ashley Gentle had Emma Jeffcoat work for her, and that ultimately, ended up in her winning that race.
Wasn't it like 4 American women and 4 British women all together? Like at one point there was just like a massive pack, and it was all Americans and Brits.
Yeah,
Katie and Vicky. And...
I was in that race too. It was a long time ago, but we've seen it in the past, and obviously the British have experience using that sort of tactic. As for these women, I mean, I don't know. It would certainly be something that would help Beth at least have the insurance policy. She usually swims well and has no issues staying in a group, but of course they've got some strong riders. I don't really see it happening on the French side given the players in there, but I can't think of really anyone else who would be using any sort of team tactics. Doesn't really seem relevant for like the Americans or anything this weekend, but we'll have to see, I guess, if namely the British choose to make some decisions like that.
You must have been delighted cheering on Taylor Spivey and Carla Vivari. Were you watching that? Like, you go way back with Spivey.
Yeah, no, that was an excellent race for her, and I think that just to see a breakaway succeed like that, it's been a long time since we've really had that excitement on the bike to watch, and she's obviously no stranger to that type of race scenario playing out. So on that course, which is obviously a really nice course, just so many different elements. Not enough of those these days, I would argue, but she's probably carrying some confidence in from that, and hopefully something like that can be replicated this weekend.
Because for Beth, coming in off 2 wins is obviously that momentum's with her regardless of who else was on those start lines. And the Weihai race, slightly difficult given that it was a new course to get any gauge of how fast they were running, right? Obviously she's against Lisa Turch, who's up there, and Tanya Neubert, who's having an amazing season, but it was just the way that she pulled clear, looked so effortless, and was suddenly the gap was so big. I just wondered, it's hard to gauge form from that race,
right? And of course every race is unique, and I think everyone goes into every race feeling a little bit differently. To be firing and confident in your running, especially for someone who isn't obviously like always running to win the race, is it's really exciting to be able to capitalize on like having an opportunity like that and having a good day. So she's running well, and she's obviously riding really well. We'll definitely be, I would assume, looking to mix things up in this one and hopefully break up that the larger
I feel like she's someone who races quite a lot of confidence as well. You know, in some post-race interviews, she's just like, it's just not happening for you at the moment. And then like the beaming smile as she crossed the line in Weihai suggested, she's enjoying her racing. She's spent a couple of weeks in Oz since. She's going to be in like tip-top shape for this.
Yeah. And I think too, coming off of Paris obviously went different ways for different people. And I think that there's a lot of emotion and just loaded feelings for however that experience was. I think it's hard to at least not acknowledge how that fuels your next year. And even just looking down the line to LA, which many of these people, pretty much everyone racing here obviously has got some goals in that next Olympics. So
It's kind of cool looking at the top 5 women that you have up on the start list right now. Is like momentum that we talk about is such an important thing. And right now it feels like Beth has a lot of momentum, but so does Cassandre and so does Jean Lahair. She's been racing like every weekend and winning everything. Also, she just got engaged, so she's flying high right now. And like looking at the top 5 or even the top 6, like they all have momentum on their side. There's been a lot of race opportunities and everyone's been racing so well that I think everyone's coming in super positive and riding the wave basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't thrown out her name yet, but Yolene too has had an excellent year and, you know, just seems to always find herself there and ready to put herself in the mix to win even. So I don't think it's not wrong to even think that there could be someone that isn't Beth or Cassandre that just rises to the occasion for this. So,
as we saw in Alghero as well, right? And this course doesn't quite have that kind of hill, and maybe the wind it has been quite windy here the last few days, so that just in terms of that was obviously Bianca Seregni, Emma Jeffcoat, and Olivia and Cass worked super hard to get onto that pack, didn't she? But that was where did Lisa finish there? Like 9th. But yeah, I guess in terms of this course, is it the kind of one where that you could see it playing out similarly?
Well, it's funny because, and like, I want to choose my words wisely here, but basically the best swimmers right now are not necessarily the strongest or the best cyclists. So there's kind of a swing where, like, let's say Bianca Seregni, Cassandre Beaugrand, who's somebody else that Jolene even, like they're all top swimmers and they come out in the front, but they're not the ones that are like known for like pushing the bike and creating that separation. So I think that makes it a little bit more difficult when trying to get that break coming out of the water. Like you need to have like the Taylor Spivies, or like in the past in Alghero there was the Maya Kingma, who was like the ticket to the front for Cassandre. Cassandre made up like 13 seconds in transition in that race and got ahead of Maya, and that was like the make or break moment in that race, because then she and Maya were able to make it up to that breakaway. But so somebody I mentioned her earlier, like Jessica Folligar, who's like super strong on the bike. It kind of depends where she comes out of the water, because you need drivers. And Taylor Spivey, Jessica Folligar, they're drivers and they're very good technically and they're motivated to get a breakaway going. And so it depends where they come out on that split. And same thing with like Leonie. Like I remember one year in Yokohama, she was about 14 seconds back. And she had the transition of the century. Like, it was insane. And she was the last person to make that split, and that's the race that she ended up winning. So had she been like 2 seconds off, then that would have changed the entire dynamic of the race. So anyway, I believe there are plenty of strong swimmers here to like make a group, but are they the strong cyclists that need to be in that front to create that breakaway and like stay away? That's what's going to be the interesting factor.
Yeah, and they're all looking around too. They know who are their, tickets to the front, as you just mentioned. People that they see around and they're like, well, I need to hustle my way through transition today because that is literally my, my ride to the front of this race or to the front group or whatever that is. And like Tommy said, I think when we were seeing a lot more breakaways in these women's races 4 or 5 years ago, it was because those really strong swimmers were also the strongest cyclists, and they were just driving from the first seconds on the bike and were able to create those gaps pretty much immediately. And it makes this a lot more unpredictable. I think if we were talking in 2020, 21, we would have been like, oh, another breakaway. We know who's going to be in it and how much time they put in. But this weekend, like, yes, 100 different situations and scenarios could play out. And it just really comes down to who's firing on the day, I guess.
Yeah. So but to recap then, the women's race, it's a win for Beth or Cassandre, and they are the world champ, and it would take a 4th or lower and a win from Jean Lahair for her to win, and everything then ticked down 1 for Lisa and again for Leonie. So is there a situation where Beth or Cassandre, I mean, that's the thing, right? You look at what they need to do, and it's a grand final, and they're both past world champs, and you think that's just what's going to happen. One of those two will win it, but it's a grand final, and that's not what happens usually.
Yeah, especially we're just coming off Kona too, where you're looking at obviously very, very different situations, but it's just an example of it's never over till it's over, and like you never know what's going to happen, and you could be the highest ranked athlete winning the most races, but you never are guaranteed like that top spot.
Yeah, Kona was a good reminder that you should expect the most outrageous race to unfold, and it's never over. So it just takes, being a few seconds off in the swim for either those top two women for the day to be gone. So,
yeah, or get that little bit of advantage out of T2, or I suppose what we want is, in many ways, is for it to boil down to a head-to-head between those two over the last 2-3 laps.
But that's also what happens too, is like people who are in the fight to win become a lot more conservative because you don't want to crash and you want to be careful. But this course does have quite a few turns on it, so it's like who can be more conscious with their energy conservation through these turns and their positioning on the bike, and safety wise, and when are you using your matches, and how many matches are you using, and are you using them in the right place? And that's what it's going to come down to between Beth and Cassandre. Let's just pretend that everything's going to plan and they're all in the front and it's all good. The difference between them right now is going to be who's saving the most energy and who's racing tactically the most aware of what's going on. And I guess who's willing to take, more risks without making them risks, if that makes sense. But
yeah, and we saw this play out in 22, the Abu Dhabi Grand Final, where the top two women, I think it was Flora and Georgia, were neck and neck, maybe to the point where it was the first one across the line wins, and it did come down to a run battle back in that race too. So we'll hopefully see a similar type of thing unfold. It's exciting, I think, type of.
Yeah. On to the men. You have to start in one place. Matt Hauser, he can be the first Aussie male winner since Peter Robertson, 2005.
Whoa.
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's freaking nuts. And which I think is pretty cool, the first home win, winning a world title on your home turf since Gwen in Chicago. And that's freaking special as well. So he's just got to do it.
Where our brains are going we're trying to be really? Is that... Nothing's.
I was just thinking about Cassandre winning the Olympics in Paris, but I guess it's different.
I mean, that's undoubted. But
that probably takes
I was
cake.
thinking, grand final, own country. Same.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know who the last... I think the last man might have been Daniel Unger in Hamburg 2007. So, there's some big firsts here for Matty.
I think that would mean a lot.
His first.
His first would be important for him too. No, I think there's a lot behind that for just Australia in general. They're maybe rebuilding what's been a hard last 10 years or so, and to have this race here, namely, is a big deal for them. To have him in contention to be world champion, to have gotten that relay world championship in Hamburg, they're riding some momentum, as Tommy would say, and I think it would just be a really excellent just display for the entire program they've got. He's got, juniors, U23s, kids who are looking at this sport. This sport is it's a big deal here in a way that it isn't in a lot of other countries. So I think a lot of us are probably cheering for him to seal the deal and get that world title.
I refuse to cheer because every time I pick him on my fantasy team or tell him, oh, you got this, it always goes poorly. So I'm staying out of it, staying neutral. I don't want to cause any problems with any bad luck.
For him to lose it, he's got to be fourth or worse, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So all he has to do is podium.
And it's definitely his.
All he has to do, as if that's easy.
He has to do.
Where was he in Carla Vivari? So,
well, yeah, 8th or 9th, wasn't he? Top 10.
Yeah.
But he said he was, I can't remember, was it cramp or something was slowing him down, and he was just right, I'm just easing right off. So take into that what you will. But I mean, he's obviously not someone who has lacked in confidence as an athlete. Like that little clip of him winning the junior champs, and he sort of does a little wink to the camera and stuff. And okay, wow, that was quite punchy. But he's the point is he's now delivering on it in spades. And you interviewed him for the podcast, didn't you? And it sounds like he's almost had a bit of a light switch moment in terms of his own approach to everything.
Yeah, that's the sense I got from him, where he's kind of had two awakenings. One was after Tokyo when he had a really rough time and realized what it looked like to really do well at this sport and to be all in. And that was I think that first light twitch. And then the second, it seemed like it's been this year, was after Paris, where he had a race he was proud of, but he wants to win. He wants to be a guy that's, on the podium in LA and hopefully on the top step in LA. And I think that when you do find that bit where it's the difference between getting a bunch of seconds and thirds to winning the races, he seems to have unlocked that, and he knows what it takes, and he's been looking at this day all year, I'm sure, and he's been working with his coach since he was 5 years old, and they're locked and loaded for this. So obviously, as we said with the women's race, anything can happen, but he seems to be in a really good place and ready to throw down.
And being the person that has helped turn the perception or the enthusiasm, in a sense, for Australian triathlon, the baggage of being part of a big federation that's underperforming must be huge, right? And conversely, being the one that's helping bring it out, and that flipping home leg in Hamburg where, he pulled that out of absolutely nowhere. He must feel bulletproof.
Yeah, I think he knows he's human. He's probably also got insecurities like we all do. I feel like he's pretty bulletproof, but he's also human. And I think that, like you said, being that face of a federation that's really working hard to show that they're, can be at the top of the world stage after lacking for a little while, he, I think, has really kind of owned that role, and he's very grateful, and he's very, he feels like he owes Triathlon Australia and just his country a lot. They've really helped him become who he is, and I think that he's very proud. Not that no one else is proud to be racing with their country on their chest, but I think he's exceptionally proud, and bulletproof.
It's funny to me that Miguel Hidalgo is in second over Vasco, because thinking back, I just picture the battles that Vasco and Matt have had that were so close, or coming down to the sprint, and Vasco's pushing him and they're attacking and all this stuff. Because Miguel, when he won in Alghero, you couldn't even see anybody in the background. You're just it was almost a different race. And then in the French Riviera race, he got dropped a little bit earlier on, and it was just Vasco and Matt. And then Hamburg, I think it was the same thing. It was Vasco and Matt, down to the last 800 meters. So it's funny looking at the top three that Miguel and Vasco. Who do you think is going to push him more in this race scenario, in an Olympic distance? And and then Henry Graf as well. Those three guys, I feel are all capable, of pushing Hauser to the limit. But Chelsea, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about Miguel and Vasco, who they're both up there, but I think Miguel he's won his first World Series this year, and I think winning just brings a whole extra level of confidence and momentum. That Vasco has had some excellent results, but he hasn't won yet, has he? And that's just something that I think, to unlock that extra layer, hopefully he does it soon, but to have not done that yet, I'm sure he's thinking about that, and I'm sure that's not a weakness, but something that's it's something you have to make happen. And then throwing in Henry Graf, who has really, in the last month since Carlo Vivari, which we haven't seen Hauser have a epic day in a few months now. He's had an excellent season, but he's, I think, been head down and doing a big training block. He had a harder day in Carlo Vivari, and he was not in way high. Was he in way high? No, he wasn't in way high. And Henry Graf has shown that he can expose some weaknesses of those other guys on the bike, and I'm sure that's all he's planning to do this weekend. He knows that when Hauser was exposed a little bit on Carlo Vivari, he was able to just grab that opportunity and win. So in the women's race, a lot of different scenarios can unfold. I imagine there will be some sort of action on the bike. I don't think we're going to see a massive Paris-style group of 200 guys riding, pedaling around together. Henry Graff and De Vey have shown that, he's going to make something happen. So I think I have the utmost confidence in Hauser to follow and be in that group this weekend. But if they're all going to push him, I think just in different ways. His run is, I think, probably the most threatening to Hauser. So we'll see if he can exit T2 in a place to really challenge him with that.
And same thing with Chongo Lehman. Like, he's been beating Vasco in like the Super Tri arena, and he's on he's on a lot of momentum. That's the word again. But the fact that he's in this race and kind of been building through this whole season, like just getting better and getting better and getting better. I feel like he's a huge threat as well, just to be up there and to be pushing the pace. And I think I had listed out, there's over 10 men who have either been on a championship series podium, either this year or like in the past, that could potentially like mix things up with those top 4 guys that we have already mentioned, the Hauser, Hidalgo, Vasco, and Graff. Like, there's 10 other guys that could be on the podium or like potentially win or throw a wrench into the system. And Max Studer is one of the most recent, where he's only raced one championship series race, won it, his first one ever. But he attacked on the bike at the end, got a gap. So we know that he's strong on the bike, but then still ran the fastest by like a significant margin. So we haven't seen Max and any of these top 4 guys go against each other, especially on the run. So having him in this race is going to be a very interesting factor.
Yeah,
definitely a factor. And also, just looking at your Pac-Man graphic again here, for someone like Lehman to win the race, to be world champion, it is possible, and we've seen that before, that Dorian was ranked 5th or 6th and he was ultimately world champion just by winning the race, the grand final. It obviously relies on those top guys really having a rough day. But it's, of course, possible, and I think all the more exciting to make this a heavily weighted race.
And it's not necessarily even a particularly rough day. It's those guys that can... when Leo won, it was both Alex and Hayden only missed out by 1 position on being world champ, right? Both of them. Whether it's a David Cantero or a Charles Paquet or... these guys that can, or Max Studer, that can wedge themselves in between, and how's the finish off the podium, and who knows?
Yeah, we have also Luke Willian, who's been on championship series podiums as well, who's representing Australia, and you always get that extra boost racing in your home country, and he's going to have a lot of fans here. And I don't know what Triathlon Australia's plan is, if he's going to be racing for himself or if they're going to employ some team tactics just to make sure that Hauser has kind of a teammate, I guess you could say, which they've done that in the past at different races. So I have no idea if that's actually the case, but it'll be interesting to see if he's able to race for himself and throwing himself in the mix on the run, or if he's just there as kind of a teammate for Hauser to make sure that they bring home the world title.
Looking even down the road on these rankings to like 10th and beyond, a lot of those guys who have been, featuring swim, bike, especially like Cracciani and De Vey, do you think those would be people that are, having conversations and getting some sort of
alliance.
Alliance?
I hope so.
Worked out, because no, it's impressive to see, I guess, the level of, it's very deep. And, even in a world where it's, the start list looks a lot different than it did last year, we're missing, Alex Yee at the top of this. So it's like, oh, well, not the good guys are gone, but it's an incredibly strong men's race. And I think,
Well, exactly. We've not mentioned Morgan Pearson or Hayden Wild.
Yeah, well, they didn't even make the list here that I'm looking at.
Well,
no. And Hayden, he is racing the T100 the day before. We saw in the past that kind of hurt his swim. He was 2 minutes back in Karlovy Vary, and in French Riviera is a sprint distance race, and he was a minute back. So that typically he's somebody that you can rely on, that even if he is 45 seconds minute back, that after lap 1 he's going to bridge up to the front. But I think racing a T100, it does take it out of your legs, and you do need that spike. So I think a lot of people that used to rely on Hayden as their bus ticket to the front of the race are going to be missing out on that. And that he used to bring quite a few different athletes into the mix who may not be in the mix this time. And yeah, Morgan Pearson is going to be a wild card as always. Like it's either like top 5 or 50th. Like we don't know which one's going to show up. Yeah. And then we got John Reed, who he's had like a top 5 fastest run in pretty much every WTCS race. He just hasn't been at the front. He's been unlucky, got stuck behind crashes, or been involved with other people crashing at multiple races. And then of course in Way High we saw he finally got his podium and like was able to run up there with the best guys in the sport. So wherever he's able to come out of the water, and if he's able to make that front group, or if there's a split, or if he's able to just like be in the mix, he's definitely somebody that can be on the podium, as well as David Cantero. So
yeah, there's going to be people with a lot of eyes and alertness over in whatever bike pack might form out front, the likes of Graf or Chebekindle making the break. And I think they said in Way High it was more like through chance that they were suddenly away, and those things aren't always massively prearranged, are they? Or it's like suddenly a wheel's lost and they're away.
Yeah, you blink, it happens.
You blink, especially with some of those guys out there doing it, and then it's a case of if Hauser happens to be sitting a bit too safe at that moment and it's gone. And
there's a few guys here in this elite race too. You said there's 10 that are doing both U23 and elite.
10 athletes total, 7 men.
Okay.
Yeah.
7 men.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, and typically the U23 race is like a day before, and so now having a few days between, the up-and-comers, we have Reese Vanderson, Mitch Kolkman, a few others that, are players in both races. Like they could be on the podium in both potentially. Like you never know. So it'll be interesting to see if they get some course recon on the earlier days in their U23 race, and then come back for the elite race with a lot less pressure too. A lot of times you feel like, okay, if I'm doing both, like you just take the pressure off yourself, and a lot of times have a better race. So I'm hoping that's the case for a lot of these guys, that they come out, they've done the course already, they've experienced it, and they say, oh, nobody's expecting anything from me because I've already raced. They take that pressure off themselves and just kind of go for it, and they have the best day of their life. So
Henry Graf could be racing the under-23, but isn't. Is there anyone that you can remember that has come through and had such a massive impact on a season in such a short space of time, and that could be a huge player in the way that this season actually runs its course?
Are you referring to him?
Like
Henry?
in terms of like a young athlete that, this is, I think he had done Hamburg last year and then was straight in Abu Dhabi and 4th, and then gets his first win. And, it just feels like there's a lot of conversation about him in such a very short space of time. He then missed the next 2 races after Abu Dhabi as well.
But I guess it's kind of like, so Oliver Conway, he's not doing the elite race, but he's doing the U23 race. He's the first person that comes to mind. It's also this season where it's like, have you heard of Oliver Conway? No. Like all of a sudden he's winning French Grand Prix races. He's winning World Cups. He's going to Karlovy Vary, finishing 4th place. Like, it just kind of out of nowhere. And he's been very, very impressive this season. And he's the first person that comes to mind.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of someone. Do you think that's just because they, have a good day and catch that confidence from a little bit of momentum, or just kind of waiting on or just waiting for the opportunity to showcase a lot of work that's there, maybe getting past some bad luck and missed opportunities in terms of, it's hard for some of these guys to get starts in these races, especially like he's a Brit.
German,
German,
Oliver,
Conway.
For Graf, he won in Levant as well, right? He's just had the most unbelievable season, and I feel like it was only 2021, he was in Quartera and he was leading by a minute and a half going onto the run in the Junior Worlds and blew up and just completely crumpled and finished 40th or something. And it's just, suddenly he's up there. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4th in the world rankings, and could finish with a series podium, very conceivably.
Yeah, I mean, just from watching the races, I don't know the actual numbers, but the two things that those guys have in common is like what I'm seeing from Oliver Conway is he's extremely strong on the bike, and he's very aware of what's going on and like tactically placing himself well, doing work where he needs to be at the right time. Same thing with Henry. He's so strong on the bike, so he is capable of putting himself exactly where he needs to be all the time. So just being an all-around athlete, a triathlete, you know, like very strong on the bike is kind of the ticket, I would say, for any up and coming athletes who are listening to this. Like you make your own luck, you know, and like the stronger you are, the better luck you can make yourself. So them having those good results, kind of like first thing being U23 out the gates, is like being strong across the board, not just relying on like one strength and being average at the other two.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, that awareness too, the sound mind of, you know, watching what's happening on the bike and not necessarily reacting on emotion, but having a plan. And those just really astute people, like Vincent comes to mind as someone who's just, you know, always thinking and just maybe not the strongest on every day, but he capitalizes on every opportunity and just knows how to use his strengths to find himself at the front, and it becomes a legend for it, I guess. So yeah.
All right, great. Well, by way of wrapping up, so there's 350 points between Henry in fourth and Matt in first. Those are and with Vasco and Miguel Hidalgo in between, those are the four guys that can really likely impact this series title. It was 550 points that Dorian reeled in on the last day in 2023. So, yeah, Tommy, care to wrap up your final comments, bearing that in mind?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Dorian is also in this race.
yeah.
The drop off is kind of big, isn't it? From from Henry to Chongor. So yeah, those four guys, I'm just gonna be watching like a hawk, you know, through the lens. No closing comments from me.
Yeah, I think my closing comments are, looking at the last 3 years, the World Championship podium kind of looks the same. We've got Leo Bergère has been on the last 3, Hayden's been on the last 3, and then Alex has been on the last 2. So it's going to be a completely new roster of people, and I think that's exciting to see, and perhaps a new era, a changing of guard of sorts as we look towards LA and beyond. So to have, you know, people who are having their first World Championship podium, that's exciting, and I think excellent for this sport. So
yeah,
new names are coming.
It's going to be a new world champ, whoever that may be. And if it is Matt, this place is going to erupt, right?
We'll make sure of it. Yes.
The talk of the after party is already rumbling along strong. I think that's going to be good. Chelsea,
wow, you know everything.
Very much for coming on board. It's been great to have you on. And we'll be keeping an ear out for your new episodes off the back of this, right?
Yep. I'll get to work.
And if anybody's listening to this, check your DMs, because you might have a message from Chelsea getting
Reply to me, please. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.